one, it does kind of mirror what Bleacher Report's Zach Buckley put out today, which was a trade that saw Moses Moody, Jonathan Kuminga, Brandon Pajemski in 2026 and 2028 first-round picks moved for Lauri Markkanen. So in my slightly altered trade, I'm just replacing Moody with GP2. So it would be GP2, Kuminga, Pods, 2026 and 2028 first-round picks for Lauri Markkanen. On the surface, like you think of that, you think, wow, okay, so the Warriors are giving up their two best young players in Kuminga and Pods and two really valuable for like these are arguably four of the Warriors' top 5 assets that they have. Like if Steph Curry's number 1, Jonathan Kuminga's number 2, and then you've got those, like they are eligible to trade 2 picks in the future. They've obviously got 2026, 7, 8, 9 at the moment. Right now, eligible to trade. You can only trade 2 of those. Obviously, the ones further out are going to be more valuable because Steph Curry is going to be older or out of the league entirely. But like these picks, those picks are probably after Curry and Kuminga the biggest assets that the Warriors have. And then after that, it might be maybe Pods is more valuable than a 2026 first round pick. I don't know. It's much for muchness probably there. But you are talking about 4 huge assets that the Warriors have. 4 of the main assets that they've got. 4 plus GP2 for a guy who's only once been an all-star. However, I repeatedly speak about, like, if I'm going to trade Jonathan Kuminga, I want a multi-time all-star, all-NBA caliber player. If there's one player that doesn't fit the mold, Lauri Markkanen's never been All-NBA and he's only made 1 All-Star game in 2023. He's the one player I'd make an exception for because I just think, and I've said this repeatedly, probably on here and also certainly on BlueManHoop.com, I've said repeatedly, he is the ideal, perfect trade target for the Warriors. He just is. Because you're getting a guy on an incredibly team-friendly contract for 1 more year. You're going to have to pay him after that. Yeah, sure, absolutely. But in the meantime, in terms of just matching salary, you only have to get up to $18 million. You don't have to get up to a max contract. You don't have to get up to Jimmy Butler making mid-40s, Kevin Durant making nearly $50 million. You don't have to do that. You get to $18 million. That means you can retain Andrew Wiggins in this trade scenario. Yes, you're going to have to pay him going forward, but guess what? He's 27 years of age. That not only makes it, less risky from a contractual standpoint moving forward, giving him, a near max contract or whatever, but it allows you to probably take more of a risk on giving up these young and future assets for a guy who can still theoretically be in his prime for another 5, 6, 7 years, for a guy who can help take the mantle once Steph goes further into decline and potentially, retires altogether. So this is a trade. It would certainly intrigue me. And I think a lot of fans would think, whoa, that's a lot to give up for Lauri Markkanen. But I think you've also got to understand Utah are not actively shopping Lauri Markkanen by any means. And I think the most likely scenario is that he stays in Utah, he signs an extension with them this offseason, and his future is solidified. I think that's the likely scenario. But if I'm Mike Dunleavy Jr. and I call up Danny Ainge and present this offer, I think Danny Ainge would be interested somewhat. Anyway, I'm not saying he'd do it. But it is a good package. Like, you are getting Kuminga, Pajemski, and 2 incredibly valuable picks. And you know what? It might not be the best offer he gets either. Again, if Markkanen is at all available, like, they could get maybe even a better package than that. But it is, I think it's enticing. Now, maybe that's me overvaluing Kuminga a bit, overvaluing Pajemski a bit, overvaluing the picks a bit. Although, in some ways, I'm actually kind of underselling the team because I think those picks have value because the Warriors might be crap in a few years when Steph's 38, 39, 40 years of age. So you've really got to look at that. And I think both teams would kind of think, we can talk ourselves into it. And if I'm the Warriors, and if you really, truly want to prioritize Steph Curry's prime, I think that's the kind of trade package you give up.